Coffee is a big part of my day. Not only does it help me get through the morning, but I just really love the taste of good quality beans. Trade is a subscription service that brings great coffee from indie roasters all over the country right to your door. Tell Trade what you typically like, whether it's espresso or single origins or even decaf, even how you like to make your coffee, and they will recommend the right beans for you. Or you can just choose from over 450 different coffees. Then you select how often you'd like the coffee delivered to you. Shipping is always free, by the way. And if you need to skip a week or so, just do that. You can do it. No charge at all. Then pick back up when you're ready to get beans delivered to your door again. Go to unitedwedrink.com/trade to get started with Trade today and start getting some of the best coffees in the country delivered to your door. That's unitedwedrink.com/trade. The opinions and statements in this podcast do not represent those of the host's employers, coworkers, family, or imaginary friends. Now enjoy the show.
Happy hour? More like amateur hour. Welcome to United We Drink.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another new episode of the United We Drink podcast right here on unitedwedrink.com, as well as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever fine podcasts are found. My name is Mike Urevich, and I'm feeling much better than I did last episode. So there's that, I guess. It's probably the only good thing going for me right now. But with with me, as always, is my friend and compatriot, Kevin Abbott.
Hello, sir.
And the man from close to the Great White North, Tim Johnson.
As always, an honor and a privilege. I'm totally going to just steal Kevin's bit.
If he's not going to use it, I
exactly.
Think it's like trademarks. You got to use it or lose it.
Yeah, exactly.
At this point, I've probably said that less often than I haven't said that in these episodes, but it will just forever be a thing.
It's like, fuck. There's something that came to my mind real quickly. It's like something that became a catchphrase that was used like only once ever, but for some reason it got like remembered as a thing. It might come back to me at some point.
I don't know where the beef is or why Frankie would say relax, but I think we're good.
Tim, what are you drinking there tonight?
I am glad you asked. So in the last episode, I mentioned a town in Minnesota called New Prague, and there is this little brewery in there called Giesenbräu. I have done a collab with these guys. They're some of my favorite people. Back when I worked at Badger Hill, they were planning out their space. It's this. So New Prague is this town that's about, I don't know, probably 40 miles.
And it's not Prague.
No, which is funny because it's all, so it was named after Prague, but in keeping with the fashion of Midwesterners mispronouncing names. Like, I grew up in Iowa, where it's Nevada, Iowa, not Nevada or Nevada. Where it's Milan, Illinois, not Milan. We have to mispronounce things because someone put some stupid Midwestern slant on it. But it was founded from. So I mentioned in the last episode that we have a lot of people from Bohemia that settled in this area, right? And so that's why you have New Ulm and New Prague. But anyway, Giesenbräu. One of the original founders he lived in Germany for a while. He was a German studies or something like that. And a lot of the founders. So it's weird to open up a German themed brewery in a Czech town, but it is all Bohemia, right? And Giesenbräu makes a lot of great beers. I really like Aaron Aaron Franklin is making some of the best beers in the state that I think maybe not enough people have seen.
He's also making some of the best barbecue in the world down in Austin.
That's true. That is true. Different. This guy actually spells his name with an E.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know.
So he's Irish.
But he. So a lot of the things I love about Giesenbräu, there's a billion things I like about this. They get these small printed cans, so they only buy these things in like a quarter pallet. They have completely 100% compostable PacTex. But this is the Town Ball Light. Town Ball. So not there's a Philly Town Ball, Mike, that you might be familiar with, which is more like about like rounders. There was a Minnesota thing called Town Ball, which it's literally just amateur adult baseball, right? Like everyone in small towns, when you don't make the big leagues, you just or you quit after high school or little league or whatever. In the upper Midwest, there's actually like these adult amateur real baseball leagues, like with like multiple classes and things like that. Like multiple state tournaments. Literally, it's guys that were has-beens or never were's, or some guys that even like maybe played minor league or played in the show. My friend Pat played town ball, and so New Prague is one of those towns that's big into town ball baseball, and so they're taking their Czech heritage and the German heritage and a little bit of together with the Minnesota heritage to make once again, similar to me drinking that Hams-esque on the last one. It's just a light lager, just something you're gonna crush while watching a baseball game.
So it's funny when I Google Town Ball, the very first recommended thing is Town Ball, Minnesota.
Yeah,
and then the first result is townballmn.com. Their catchphrase is uniquely Minnesota.
Yeah, exactly. It really is. It's funny because it's like professional amateur baseball.
It's like men's league, but they take themselves seriously.
Oh yeah. No. Yeah, it's definitely way. Like I said, like my friend Pat played college baseball and he played town ball forever. It's a lot of fun, and New Prague is again Prague. I know.
Have either one of you guys ever seen an adult playing athletics that are not taking it seriously? I mean, I feel like you go to a random basketball court with guys older than me and they start throwing fucking elbows. I mean, it's I know. I'm playing sports because of that.
I played co-rec D-League softball for the longest time, and I used to literally just drink a beer while I was being third base coach. So, yeah, no, I've seen adults playing sports that aren't serious, but you're right. Like there are a lot of tryhards, right? The guys who wish
I believe it's pronounced blowhards.
But yeah, anyway, that was a very long-winded answer to what I'm drinking, but I really like the guys at Giesenbräu. I really like the beer.
So Tim's drinking a beer. That is what we've learned through that all. Kevin, what are you drinking?
So I'm having a snapping good time with this beer from Copper Point, brewed by Melvin. It's from South Florida. It's the taste of South Florida, actually, I believe it says. It's the gateway to the Gulf Stream. This can was designed by a good friend of mine. I won't say his name. And I picked up this from Lazy Dog today. It's a passion fruit wheat beer. It's pretty good. I'm not picking up a lot of passion fruit. It's kind of subtle.
I'm going to go pick up our packs tomorrow. So,
are you tasting South Florida?
I am tasting the Gulf Stream. There's some saltiness.
That also looks very clear.
Extremely. What is this, like a Hefeweizen yeast strain? Is that what
it's supposed to be? A wit beer yeast strain.
I mean, so this is crystal clear.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not a wit beer yeast strain, but this is right on the borderline where I'm having a hard time picking up the flavor profile of either that because I'm picking up a little bit of that banana that I would typically get in a Hefe.
So it's almost like Kolsch-like, where you're getting a little bit more of that cleanness, but still you're getting a little bit of ester.
Yeah, I would, my first instinct here is that this is more of an American style wheat beer just because of the clarity and the flavor profile, but it has like a hint of that kind of Belgian/German yeast flavor. But it's indistinct to me. Maybe I'm just crazy. But yeah, I picked up the pack. The other beer in the pack that I'm really excited to try is Bell's has a West Coast IPA
Yeah.
that I've got here, and I'm probably gonna crack that open next. But yeah, it came out today, and I was like, oh, I gotta have this beer for the podcast. So I threw my kid in the car on his iPad and rushed over to Lazy Dog so I could make it back to put him in bed and get on this podcast in time.
Yeah, they emailed us today saying that they got them in, so I'm gonna go head down there tomorrow and pick them up. Yeah, it's supposed to be a wit beer base with passion fruit puree. They do late fermentation fruit additions so that it ferments out residual sugars. I wasn't told if they did filtering or centrifuging there. But the funny thing, though, too, is that they originally wanted us to do a Hefeweizen, and we were like, no, we don't want to do a Hefeweizen. Like, we've never brewed a Hefeweizen. It's not really indicative of us. And Hefeweizen with passion fruit just kind of sounds gross. So we're like, we do a wit beer. We could do a wit beer. They're like, well, the name wit beer doesn't really work well. Let's just call it a wheat. Like, okay, whatever.
I think what happened, Mike. I mean, listen. My palate isn't perfect, and I might be picking up something, or maybe it just be my first instinct on this, the power of suggestion or whatever. But they might have just put a Hefeweizen yeast strain in this thing to say
They very well could
have. we have some Hefe yeast laying around here. Who cares? They'll never know.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, you think about like Leinie's Honey Weiss, right? That's ostensibly a crystal Weizen, right? But I get neither necessarily. I love that beer, but I get neither wheat nor any other type of character out of that doesn't feel distinctly Weizen in any way, shape, or form.
I think I'm thinking of the berry vice. The berry vice to me tasted like Fruity Pebbles.
Oh yeah, no, not the
very
berry
distinctly.
vice.
I'm like, this is that. Well,
just the honey vice.
What are you drinking, Mike?
I am drinking a new beer from our friends at New Belgium. Another Voodoo Ranger Force beer, Peach Force. I think it's only available in their new variety pack. I am shamelessly a fan of these Force beers. This one is probably I like it, but it is probably my least favorite out of all of the Force beers. Tropic Force is probably my favorite right now, followed by Fruit, Juice, now Peach. Big shout out to friend of the show, Matt Gilliland over at New Belgium.
Big question for me: have they taken the word, or the letters IPA off the can yet? Have they?
Nope.
No, they haven't. Okay,
they're never going to do that because it doesn't mean anything for actual style guidelines anymore. It's just used for marketing, pretty much.
I got you.
No, IPA is a bullshit term. It's a whole other separate thing we could talk about. It's a different conversation. But yeah,
I also have a little bit of Appleton Estate 12 Rare Cask rum. I like to have a bottle of sipping rum in the house for summer. And Appleton Estate's always been like one of those ones for me. Like,
where's
I don't
that
know.
out of?
Jamaica.
Okay.
I think. I'll double check that.
Yeah. I'd love that it's going to be like pot of Jamaica, but like,
yeah, Jamaica.
Distilled it and bottled it in Sheboygan.
It's all done at that old Seagram's facility in Indiana. Just like every rye. In the world.
Exactly.
So, we're like I don't know, 20 minutes in and we haven't talked about the topic. So we have done before kind of like a nightmare stories type of thing, brewery nightmares. We've talked about stuff that's happened in the brewery. We've talked about, customers with complaints ad nauseum on the show. This might as well be United We Drink and Sit and talk about our customer base. But
United We Bitch.
yeah, that UWB. That sounds like a shortwave radio station, or a group that sings Red Wine. One of those.
God,
but
that's the dumbest joke.
I don't know. But Kevin brought this topic up because he received a very interesting email. We have not heard this email yet, but he wants to explain it to us on the show, and I can't wait. So, Kevin?
So not only do we have to deal with customers, as Mike says, but we deal with vendors, we deal with our distributors. When you're in the industry on our side, which is having tap rooms and being a distribution brewery, there's trucking companies. We're just dealing with so many people, and some of them we're buying services from, and so we're selling to others. But there are some crazy freaking people out there in the world, and we had a company that worked with us providing some comedy shows, and they worked with us for several years. And we're talking once a month they come in, and sometimes they bring 40 people and sometimes they bring 5. We're not talking about a big thing for our company. It's a thing we could advertise once a month. You get a few extra bodies in there, you sell a few beers. We make next to nothing off the ticket, but it's good marketing. It's something different. We actually have an upstairs room for those of you who don't know at Barrel of Monk. So it's not like in the tap room, but upstairs in our kind of a private event space. I'm a big fan of comedy. I've actually never gone to one of these shows because it never really.
What a fan!
Well, I'm a big fan of comedians that I know. Popular comedians in the zeitgeist. Our good friend Ryan Panucci, Mike and I's friend. Mike
he is zeitgeist.
He's a great local comedian, so I've gone to his shows. But I just I don't want to hang out at my brewery for a comedy show. I want to go home. And I just never really sat in on one of these. But our taproom manager, Eric Sheffer, manages this company that we're working with for years. And there came a time where there was some kind of confusion about canceling the show, or I think they were overselling the shows. Like, we only have 40 seats and they kept selling more seats. And this is just my understanding of it. It could be, maybe Eric was 100% in the wrong. I don't know. But basically Eric was like, you need to stop selling tickets. We don't have any places for them to sit. And if they get the tickets, and it makes us look bad because they don't have no place to sit. So there was some conflict. Eric eventually just said, this isn't worth the hassle. It doesn't make us very much money. It's a tiny fraction of our taproom income, and it's more trouble than it's worth. So after a heated back and forth, he sat on it for a couple of days and sent an email that was very professional, but very stern, basically saying, listen, we've decided we're going to cut ties. We don't want to work with you going forward. It wasn't nice. It wasn't, hey, maybe in the future we'll do this. It was just straightforward and professional, saying we're not going to be working together anymore. It's pretty obvious why. Shortly after, he gets this email. And excuse me because I'm going to say stupid things. I want you to understand that I already say stupid things on this show. When they're my words, hold me to task. When they're not, please be forgiving. And I quote, I canceled the shows on my end during our conversation. You cuck. Get on some panic medication stat. That stat was uppercase S, by the way. Paranoid and scared of a flu bug? You prob got the vax and boosters too. I'll be doing shows in Boca nearby very soon. And before you know it, Barrel of Cucks will be struggling to keep the lights on. LOL. Let's see who wins. I'm undefeated, pal.
If you don't name a beer Barrel
not
of
as long
Cucks,
as
by the way,
I thought this was going to be. I thought this was going to be a long-winded email, but man, for a short email, that one was.
Whew. So right away, I canceled while we were talking. Okay, yeah, you're mad or you're frustrated, or maybe you're not mad. You just really want. panic medication. That's a good line. You get in, you're accused. He's overreacting to things. I love the turn of how vaccines and worried about COVID, I'm presuming, has anything to do with this.
Yeah,
Right?
I'm so confused. This isn't 2020.
That
What the
was
hell
from
is
out of
about?
nowhere. Yeah.
Totally out of left field, because I mean, listen, we all know the kind of person who wrote this, right? That we could just imagine what bumper stickers are on their car, and we understand what kind of rallies they attend. So, but it
So,
was, but so
you're not happy that Ron DeSantis was at your brewery?
Mr. DeSantis does not run this comedy company, but he would be a big fan apparently. I like you cuck. I think that's a really great term to just throw in there as a pejorative. It's the kind of pejorative that you use, the style of pejorative that a 6-year-old uses. Like it, I think it's such a thing to say that's going to upset you. But if you're an adult that doesn't give a shit about these people or what they think of you, it's like calling me a nerd. Now, by the way, this was not to me, but I'm taking it on because I'm part of the barrel of cucks. So I want to make sure you understand that.
But then he went back to the well again.
Oh yeah, well that first of all, not a very
is
good
that a
comedian.
callback? Is that
not
a callback?
Not within 2 lines, bro. I sat down for a minute. I was going to rewrite this. I was going to punch it up for him, because even though I'm not a professional comedian,
Here's some notes.
There's many notes I could have made on this, but I like that. I love the vaccine turn. That's just, it's out of left field. It's like a Family Guy joke. It's a total non sequitur, and it just comes in out of nowhere. It's meaningless, but brilliant. And this is what I really love. I love that a guy who, let's say once a month we make an extra $100-$150 off this guy, maybe 200. I don't know. It's such a small amount that I don't know, and I do the bills, right? I run our bank account, and I don't know when they've come, because our Sundays don't look that different, or Saturdays or whatever day that they come, than when they're not there. Plus, we're distributing brewery. I sent $20,000 worth of beer out in a week to my distributors. This person has such a high opinion of themselves that they think that by losing that business, we're going to be struggling to keep the lights on, that they're undefeated, that they're going to put us out of business. I don't doubt that this person might make millions. I think this person has like a national company. At least I've seen, on their Instagram, they promote shows in different states. They may be wildly more successful than us. To us, they are insignificant. And this person has such a high sense of self-worth, probably like the person he has a bumper sticker of on his car, that he thinks that this is somehow important. I told Eric, I said, listen, don't do this. What I'm going to say to you, do not do this, because there's no reason to engage. There's no reason to ever have contact with this person again. But I said, I want you so bad to mock up a Barrel of Cucks t-shirt and send him the image and say, man, thank you so much for the marketing idea. We're going to sell 1 million of these. This is going to help us replace all the money we lost with your business. I want to name a beer Barrel of Cucks. It is brilliant on a million levels.
You guys should start an OnlyFans page for that.
You already have the Cucumber Wizard, right? You could do Barrel of Kooks.
I don't think we've done a Cucumber Wizard, but if we did, that would be a good idea.
But I love the fact that he thinks like you're a comedy venue, and that like he's like, I'm going to take my business. We're going to take all of your acts, and we're going to put you out of business. Like, you are the only comedy show we had, and you're not going to be like, hey, Barrel Amongst patrons, come to our show. Do you got beer? No. Well, I'm not coming. I'll go to the brewery.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is like, so there is a brewery up here that was founded by a stand-up comedian. who like you guys have probably actually seen bits on TikTok or Instagram or whatever old person way you take in media, YouTube shorts or whatever. There is actually a brewery up here that is actually a well-regarded stand-up comedy venue. Like they get real national acts in here. That said, people watching stand-up aren't ordering beer after beer. You know, they order a beer and they want to watch. They're not paying attention, right? Like there's something different about like, you know, like having a band or a musician. You can, you know, listen to the music and walk back to the bar and it's not disruptive. If you get up in the middle of a comedy show to go order another drink, that's disruptive, right? Like comedy isn't necessarily something that is conducive to selling alcohol. Like, yeah, sure, people drink and want to do that. But if I want to make money, if I want someone to order another beer and another beer and another beer, I'm not going to do that by making them feel like a captive audience where they can't leave. So
everything you were saying is 100% correct. I need to paint a picture for you.
Okay.
Our upstairs private event space doesn't have a stage. It is essentially it's a room.
It's just a dude walking around.
It has some cabinets. It has a large table and folding chairs, and there's a sink. Yeah, there's a sink you can pour stuff out in. It is a office. The other option for us, and we do it, is doing bingo. Like it's not a venue. It's never been a venue.
Have you guys considered doing professional wrestling there? Because bingo halls have had wrestling.
I love this with a passion undying. I really hope that I never meet this person because, you know, sad for humanity. I want to believe that when they were writing this, they were like, you know what? Our relationship is I want to think this. I want to think they said our relationship is soured, but I'm going to leave them with a giggle. And wouldn't it be hilarious if a person that existed on this planet thought like this? So I'm going to put on a character. It's going to be really zany. It's going to be the guy who is a complete fucking moron and thinks that somehow the things he say and does matter. And that's what I want to think. That's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with that. He was literally trying to give me a chuckle. It's the best.
Yeah, this is literally better than like when you tease this for Mike and I, and we didn't know what you were going to say. I thought it was going to be like a typical like disgruntled customer or vendor or things like that talk about how like you guys didn't have enough power for me or you didn't have enough blah 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 blah. Not something where you're going to be straight up called Barrel of Cucks. God damn it! If there is not a beer called Barrel of Cucks, I want you to ship me a case of Barrel of Cucks.
I might have to do a beer because we're getting a canning line in sometime this year. We actually are. We're close now, and I'll be able to do more. I'll be able to do more random packaging. I might not be able to list it on the can for obvious reasons, but BOC and we'll all know. And everyone that's in the know will be just freaking laughing their asses off. That's a thing that can happen.
I love the idea of an inside joke beer. By the way, that's a whole side note. But yeah,
well, that's like in the early days of the production brewery, Buddha used to put dicks hidden in all of their label art.
So that's Brian's sense. I mean, he hit hot in his personal life. He hid dicks, mostly drawings. Mostly, and he was also places.
One of the adults who took sports as an adult too seriously,
very seriously. But no, I can have the can mock up. We can do like it'd be BOC, and we'll do like the traditional improv brick background, and put a microphone that's empty because there's no mics up. There's no one up there because the comedians have all gone away, and we'll put the microphone in an office space where it doesn't belong, and it'll be BOC, and it'll be great.
I'll come down and I'll do an old Friday favorite with you, Kevin.
Because I don't think your employee Ben listens to the show. So Ralph, get Ben to start working on that. But
Ben doesn't really like beer, so I don't think he has any interest in what we're doing.
well, doesn't he make your labels?
He does, but I'm just saying, you say why he doesn't listen to our podcasts. First of all, he doesn't want to hear me say anything else to him if he doesn't have to. And secondly, Ben has very, I mean, I love the guy. And I mean, I am so thankful. He's an amazing employee. He's smarter than I am in 10,000 different ways. But when like we're doing beer stuff, he'll be like, I'll drink a beer every now and then. Good for you, dude.
Well,
So
no, sorry. I was gonna say, Kevin, you kind of ruined the episode because the whole conceit of the entire
it's all
episode,
downhill from here.
That's what I'm saying. Is the entire conceit of the episode is there's things to complain about, and I don't know that like, Mike, is there any story that you could ever do that even matches that?
No.
Because I've got another one.
I've never been called a cuck by anyone. Like I don't even think that I've gotten an email from someone just calling me an asshole or a fuckhead or anything similar to that.
So okay, if neither one of you guys want to step up to the plate, I've got another.
I have something,
Okay,
but
okay.
it just pales in comparison. Because like we get people who reach out to us for all sorts of like marketing opportunities all the time, and like I didn't even do the air quotes, but you could have probably felt me roll my eyes like all the way in Iowa. Hi, Eric. But like I got maybe a couple months ago, a dude reached out on Facebook, because that's the way it always fucking starts, is on Facebook or Instagram. Someone wants to talk fucking business through DMs on there. And it's like, no, we're not doing this on here. Here's the email of the person that you need to contact. For this particular instance, I was like, here's my email. Send me. And it's always like, send me everything. Like, I do not want to have to come back to you and go, okay, what's the catch? Okay, what's the price? It's like, lay it all out to me. I'm not getting on a phone call with you. Lay it all out to me. I don't care if it takes you an hour to write it out. If you're not going to write it, then I don't care. So dude reaches out about wanting to do. He produces a local PBS affiliated TV show, and it runs in a number of Florida like PBS local affiliates. And he's like, we would love to do an episode there. We would come in. All of the filming is done by us, no cost to you. There is no cost for the show to be run on PBS affiliates. There is a fee of X amount of dollars. I don't remember. I want to say it was like $2,000 to be on our app. Like the production company has their own app where you can stream stuff that they produce. And I was like, so can we have this be done and not be on your app and just be on the PBS affiliate? And the guy's like, well, you see, like very long-winded like response back. Like, we ask for this amount of money because it makes you have some, I can't remember the phrase that he used, but like makes you have something in this. Like, so you're investing in this, so it feels like it's part of your company, and like you have to be on our app, so that is mandatory. We spend tens of thousands of dollars per episode to do this, so it's really not a whole lot in the whole scheme of things. We've had plenty of small mom and pop shops pay this fee, and like a very like matter of fact, like other people have done it, why don't you? And like this was one of the instances where I chose not to do this just isn't going to work out type of thing. I needed to get some barbs in on this one, because I was like, you know what? The beer, like, you should have led with that. The beer industry is down, is hurting. Small companies are hurting. And throwing out a figure like that with a promise of it's marketing, your eyes, so many people are going to get eyes on it. You act like we haven't heard that all before and seen that it doesn't work most of the time. Like, I
Agreed.
understand
the whole getting eyes on things is like the biggest scam of all of
exposure.
that. Yeah.
I'm like, dude, we've heard this so many times. Like I was like, I've been in this industry 12 years. I've heard this so many times. That has never worked for any company I've ever worked at ever. In the times that we have decided to try those things. Like and that's when I was like, I wish you nothing but luck. Take care. And the guy came back. He's like, thank you for the response. Have a good one. And like, it was a very cordial thing. But I was like, you know what, motherfucker? Like, you didn't give me all the information right from the start. You then tried to guilt me by saying like, there's smaller companies doing shit like that, blah blah blah, blah. Fuck you. And then the whole exposure thing, like, if you're a salesperson listening to this, which you aren't, but I'm gonna talk to the void, that doesn't fucking work. Get new shtick. Get fucking new shtick. Just like the guy who sent Kevin an email. Good new shtick that guy came up with. Cucks, barrel of cucks. Throw that one out there.
Now that's marketing.
God, barrel of
That's gonna
cucks.
put
Barrel of
asses
cucks
in the
is
seat.
so goddamn good though. That makes me angry. Like I almost wish I came up with that. That's so good.
How much a month would you spend on an OnlyFans account for that, Tim? More than 10 or less than 10? No pay-per-views.
Give
Only
us some
if
time
it's
to think
literally
about
like monks getting cucked. I think.
it. Okay. And Mike, I've experienced the same thing. I've actually got an interesting story about that. It's like my third best story about this stuff, but I think it's Tim's turn to jump in here if he's got something he wants to share.
Well, no. So no, I was just gonna say how at Unmapped we used to have a truck that was always in here all the time. You guys
food
might have
truck?
seen this. Sorry, go ahead.
A food truck?
Yeah, food truck, right?
Okay. You just said truck. I wasn't like
Oh no, yeah, no. We usually
food trucks.
just we brought in a semi and it would just hang out in the parking lot, and that was like an attraction because we're the Midwest. No, there was a food truck that you guys might have seen this because this was literally national news. Like I remember the Daily Beast had a whole article on this. But they were a food truck affiliated with a cult. And they were literally like luring women into this some sort of like Nexium type of cult. And they literally got shut down when we were just talking about trying to bring in a food truck of residents. And they literally, it turned out that they were like financing this whole like, I don't even remember exactly what it was. If it was like a
I remember you sent me a link to the news article about this, but I don't remember exactly what happened.
Yeah. Like if you were to, so listeners, just like you could probably just Google chicken.
Keith Raniere was running a food truck.
Yes. Yeah. So literally, the food truck was like a front for a.
You bought some tacos, you got a brand, and then you drank a unmapped beer, and then no one ever saw you again.
But yeah, no, it was this chicken food truck, Bad Rooster or something like that. I think it was called.
That's a bad rooster.
Yeah, but
Truth
literally
in advertising.
It was like this women's again, like I said, Daily Beast picked this up. It was a big thing that apparently I did not realize that cults used like I get that like mafia uses certain things and I get the idea of money laundering, but literally trying to use a food truck as a front to help finance a cult where you bring in women as sex slaves or whatever the hell it was. But yeah, I think we literally had this, and so like literally in the midst of negotiations of who should be our food truck of residence, right? So you guys have had a food truck of residence at Barrel of Monks, right? Right, Kevin?
For a long time, and I'll be honest with you, that gives you much better bargaining power. I mean, when the cult food truck comes in, you're like, listen, first you were to have to pay us $2,000 a month. We got to go to 2,250 right now, because we got to use some money to counteract all this awfulness that you're perpetrating.
Yeah, but I mean, because it's one thing to have a cult following; it's another thing to have a cult following. So
And there we
literally,
go.
yeah. And so
Good night, everyone.
literally, this was a front, basically, for this weird ass cult. I still don't understand all the ins and outs of it. Like I've read everything I can on everything else, but literally, I can't imagine. Like, it's one thing to be called a cuck. It's another thing to realize, no, there's literally an entire organized fake religion that is going to do this.
I've eaten at a lot of food trucks over the years. This tracks. I would be surprised if more of these places were not started to do some kind of odd religious rituals. There's a lot of weirdos on those trucks, man.
What's that? That food truck movie that Joel really likes with Jon Favreau?
Chef.
Yeah, it's a great movie, right?
10 years old a couple days ago. I was like, that came out fucking 10 years ago? Jesus.
That's
Jesus,
that's because we're old, guys. We're old.
God damn it! I hate how everything is old.
Okay,
Oh my God.
I'm jumping back in here. Tim, did you have a follow up there? I'm jumping back into another story.
No. Go ahead. I just wanted to say that, like, I've never been called a cock, but I have had to worry about a cult literally taking over our brewery.
The name of this episode is just cucks. So, so this was one of the moments that I enjoyed the most. And there's a slim possibility that I've told this on the show before, but who cares? I had a woman from a company in California that does warehousing reach out to my brewery and send me all this information about all the warehousing needs I have in California. Most people that listen to this show have heard me talk about Barrel of Monks Brewing being a 2,000 barrel brewery in South Florida. My needs for warehousing in California are not grand. So I would normally just let this email go, but I used to, at this point, I used to answer most of my solicited emails because I just thought it was respectful. No, thank you. We are way too small to talk about this. This is not something we're interested in. We do not do filtration, and we will not be doing filtration anytime in the next 5 years. Thank you very much. Because I know what it's like to solicit. I know what it's like to reach out to a bar or restaurant and get crickets. I know a lot of these are just mass emails where it's just cut and paste with your name, but still, I try to be respectful. But this one got my goat because not only did they give me this information, but they said, I love your beers. Okay. So you're in California, but you've been to my brewery? Where have you had my beers before? Maybe they're seasonal. Maybe they come down. Maybe their mom lives in Boca Raton and they've come in and they're like, oh, maybe they need warehousing needs. I read on. I love your Nuance Saison. Nuance Saison is only ever in my tap room. It's seasonal. There have been years we haven't had it. You'd have to be at my brewery to have that beer. And no one picks out Nuance as their favorite beer of ours. I read on. I love how you make it dry and drinkable and blah, blah. It's the exact wording from our website that the description of the beer is on our draft list. And she just put, I love how you make it, and then all the words that come after that in the sentence. So she went to our website, saw a beer, wanted to pretend that she'd had the beer, and said how it's her favorite. So now I'm annoyed because I don't need this in my life. I was just going to respond, no, thank you. We don't do business in California. So I wrote her back and I said, really appreciate your email about doing a warehousing needs in California. We are a small 2,000 barrel brewery in South Florida. And while we have sent a few orders to California over the last couple years, it's one every couple years and they go directly to our distributor. Furthermore, in order to do large scale warehousing, you would have to be doing massive amounts of distribution with tons of different beers. You obviously didn't do a lot of research about our business before you reached out to us, other than going to our website and copying, pasting a description of our beer and then lying that you had actually had that beer before. I need a warehousing in California like my company needs a Learjet or a yacht. This is absolutely preposterous, but what are you going to do? Salespeople going to sales, right? Next time I would suggest maybe not, I mean, now I'm just paraphrasing, but not attacking things in this way, not talking to people like their business, blah, blah, blah. I'd be interested to continue this conversation if you would like. And obviously I never got a response to that. But that was I felt very good after that email.
That it seems like, yeah, you were yelling into the void there, because that
100%.
that person was like yelling at a telemarketer who
has already hung up.
Says their name is Adam, and their name isn't Adam.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say the exact same thing. That like literally, craft beer, when it became trendy, suddenly attracted all of these like tertiary companies that want to just work with craft beer, with my biggest air quotes, that they're just literally trying to hop on a trend, but they don't understand the ins and outs of the business. They're just literally trying to sell some fly by night cheap shit company thing.
Or massively expensive stuff that doesn't fit with our business model. My partner Keith I've adopted this saying and I use it all the time. Anytime someone reaches out to me and I actually talk to them about something, I tell them, you are trying to sell, massive equipment to an apple cart on the side of the road.
Yeah.
Right? Like we're an apple cart on the side of the road. We are a tiny little business. And you are treating us like we're a multinational company. So you really there was a guy, and this was a nice guy. This guy was such a nice dude. He just didn't know who he was talking to. And he actually came to the brewery. I bought him a beer because he wasn't pressuring me. He was just trying to get information. But he wanted to sell me this valve on our water system that would save us like 30% in water costs.
Mm-hmm.
And on the surface, it's great. But the thing costs like $10,000.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if you're New Belgium and this thing lasts you for 20 years, it might work. And by the way, it could have been 5,000. I don't know exactly what it was. But for us, we would have had to be in business until the heat death of the universe in order to recoup our costs on it. And when he found that out, he was embarrassed. He felt bad that he had wasted my time. And I'm like, listen, dude, you're one of the good ones. You just didn't know. You weren't super pressury. And I said, hey, listen, Funky Buddha, Cigar City, those are the two people in the state you got to go talk to. Maybe they can make money on this thing. But these people just have no clue. And it comes to the marketing stuff. It's only $10,000. Do you know how much extra beer I have to sell to just recoup $10,000?
Well,
no, they don't.
There's just a general misunderstanding of people that think how much money craft brewers make. Right? There's just this general idea where people are, oh, but boy, I don't know. That craft got so popular, and I'm seeing all these things on tap and blah, blah, blah. And they don't understand margins, and they don't understand cost, and they don't understand all those other things. And so they all just assume that every craft brewery right now is making money hand over fist. And Kevin, I do see you in your palatial palace right now. I understand that you are like there's a gold toilet right behind you, right? The reality is like, I don't think that even a lot of these vendors understand that no, this isn't the cash cow that you think. But a lot of these vendors see this as a popular thing, and they think this is a cash cow. It's more of a cash hog. I don't even know. Like I don't even know what the. You know what I mean, though. Like it's not.
It's a cash ferret, I believe it is. It's a term.
The marmot. So
Yeah.
I think that there is, from outside companies, this thought that pretty much that everyone is that you have to be at the size of AB in order to make this stuff. Like, oh, they're a giant company. Beer has to be made in a big scale, so everyone's big, right? No, it's not. Oh, by the way, Kevin, is that some diamond encrusted trim to your golden toilet that you added there? It looks new.
Season was good to me this year, my friend. Season was good.
But no. Mike makes a good point. I think people think of
people only knew Bud, Miller, like those big companies, and they know that they are big companies because they spend money on Super Bowl advertisings and just general advertising. So there was this thought that these companies, that are craft breweries, have to be of a similar scale in order to survive, right? That you in order to compete with those, you got to be big, and therefore you got to have a lot of money. And I think that a lot of them have found out quite harshly that that's not the case.
Yeah, I mean, so like I don't know, 8 years ago, when I was at Badger Hill, then one of the guys that really helped us get going is a state senator, and he brought in a bunch of other state senators, and he was like, don't you think like Surly and Summit need to compete with the big guys? And I was like, God, no, that's like asking, and you know, a McDonald's All-American basketball player to compete, go one-on-one with Kobe and LeBron. Like it's not exactly the same thing. I know you think it's close, but they're still miles apart. Like you don't understand that even the best breweries in the state, even the best breweries in the country, are still not competing with what is really going on in the market. And part of that is just like Minnesota hubris, and Minnesotans are just generally dumb about our part in the country. I'll be honest.
Take that, Minnesotans. Go ahead.
Don't you know?
No, seriously, we literally think we are way more important than we are, and we're not.
Mike and I live in Florida. Everyone in Minnesota is great. So
no, that is true. We
well, golly,
Okay.
Tim, don't you
don't do
tell us
accents.
any more of that
Mike-
there malarkey.
Mike,
Hey,
Mike, whatever you do, don't do accents. Don't do accents, Mike.
we
do accents.
only elected Jesse Ventura governor once. Anyway,
He only ran once.
but well, that's
Okay.
true. No,
Okay,
but the reality is like no. I think that was a really good point. Is that just like
About Ventura? Yeah.
no about the whole thing about like there's these
Taking
big
this off the
breweries
rails,
playing with the
sorry.
big breweries. I don't think people even understand that like the biggest craft brewery is still pales in comparison to AB InBev.
Yeah.
Right?
Austin Beer still is like so small.
It's a fraction of the market share. I have spent. I think people would be shocked, and people that listen to this that are in the industry, they might have the same experience as me, maybe not. I spend half my time trying to convince people that we are not a massive multinational company with a $1 billion, marketing budget. And I spend the other half of my time trying to convince people that I'm not living out of my car selling beer in glass jars labeled XXX out of my trunk.
I was just gonna say that seems to be the thing. Is you're damned
Yeah.
if you do, you're damned if you don't.
It's literally I can't afford that, but also you can afford everything. Yeah.
but it's like the amount of times that I'll talk to somebody and so what do you do? I have had a brewery in South Florida for about 9 years. I actually have a sister brewery as well in Pompano. I've been doing this for 15 years. Can you buy it? Yes. In the last 9 years of owning a company, I've somehow figured out a way to sell it to humans. What are you talking about? Can you buy
Previously,
it?
only dogs bought it from me.
The look I get on their face is like, wait, in like stores? Yes.
Is this legal?
You can walk into Whole Foods. You can walk into some Publix location and their jaws drop as if
Yeah.
they can't imagine that this thing could happen. It is so rare and refreshing when someone accurately understands and like, oh, what bars can I get you in? Or are you in Publix yet? Like they'll say that kind of thing, and I'm like, can you just give me a hug? Because I need this kind of positive reinforcement that people with 4 brain cells exist.
Well, because I've always had the experience, like even when I was married, right? Like, my ex-wife's family in Kansas is like, well, where can we find your beer? And I'm like, well, I brew in Minnesota. We don't distribute to Kansas. Like, they either think that like you distribute within 5 feet of you, or you distribute everywhere. Like, there's not. Yeah.
Feast or famine, all or nothing. People have a hard time in not looking at things in absolutes. I mean, that's with everything. Craft beer is not unique in that way, shape, or form.
We
So
are not
be
Sith. We do not deal in absolutes.
Well, we don't, but everybody else does.
Yes.
So it's not
We're
surprising,
Jedi.
but it's very frustrating to me that I have to have that conversation so often with people. And I've got.
No. I feel like this conversation has been really good. I don't know that we've come to any, and we don't necessarily have to do this all the time, but I don't know that we've come
We
to
do
any
it every
conclusion.
week. You guys pay me $75 per episode.
Yeah.
This isn't therapy.
And no one feels better. It's really good. Are you saying we haven't figured out?
I feel a lot better when I can bitch. Like this entire thing is just me just getting all my grievances. I think that's perfect.
So I think we need to have another episode where Tim explains New Prague some more.
And mispronouncing words in the Midwest. By the way, my wife and I went to Detroit, and I was saying words about like street names, and she looked at the street window and goes, "That's not how that's
that happens.
said."
That happens fucking everywhere. Like in Philly, like where we were living in South Philly, we lived on the corner of Moyamensing and Greenwich, but everyone who fucking lived there called it Greenwich. At least the old heads did. And then the next block down is Dickinson. Almost all the fucking old heads called it Dickerson. No R to be found in that fucking word at all, but they fucking say it anyway. Those weird mispronunciation things, those happen everywhere. It's fun. I think it's fun to hear about that type of stuff. But
that's
not
New
a distinctly Minnesota thing.
Well, I was saying, no, it's a New Orleans thing. Jesus Christ. Like, you ever go to New Orleans, no one knows how to pronounce a goddamn thing in that town.
Okay, so since we've slipped on to mispronunciations, which I helped to spear on, by the way, I'm going to tell one more, if you give me the permission, Mike, because I know you're actually running this ship. I want to tell one more story of a customer/competing business that got their comeuppance in the most beautiful way. Can I do that?
Sure.
Okay, so when I worked at Funky Buddha, when I was brewing back in the day, we were literally a hookah bar. 1-barrel system. We sold tea. We sold hookahs to the worst college students of all time. We did open mic. We had a stage. There were comedy shows. There was terrible music. It was
Rich Voss there.
Yeah, we actually had some pretty good comedians go through from time to time, but it was truly a terrible experience for all involved. But there was a local venue that did live music, and the owner of that local venue was one of the cockiest people I've ever met in my life. They'd flyer in our in our parking lot all the time whenever we have decent sized shows. And one night, Ryan books Pato Banton, which is like a famous reggae artist, contemporary of Bob Marley, not as big, obviously, but a big reggae artist. Ryan books him. Ryan's a huge reggae fan. He's just happy to have Pato Banton. He doesn't care if 5 people show up. He booked him. He's happy. This guy from this other venue comes in with his girlfriend or wife, drunk as fuck. Tries to get past the front door man who's trying to charge $5-10, whatever it is for the ticket. The guy refuses and just wanders in and says, Ryan said I can come in. Ryan doesn't like this guy. Ryan hasn't spoken to this guy. He knows him vaguely. He proceeds to come up to the door. Ryan's there and starts telling him, dude, you got to pay the cover. You're like everybody else. This guy proceeds to go on a rant and say how our business is nothing. He calls us a coffee shop and says, I turned down Pato Banton. I turned him down. You're lucky that you even got him. I'll put you out of business. You're not a venue. You're not like my business. And goes on this whole rant calling us a coffee shop. At this time, small business, but we were already brewing. We already had the #1 porter in the world on Beer Advocate. I know that's not a lot, and I know that this guy is not on his radar, but we were getting some steam and becoming pretty well known in the craft beer industry. Fast forward a few years later, before the sale to Constellation, which I think made Ryan a little more successful from this fucking dipshit that lost every business he ever had. He had another non-concert kind of venue bar in South Florida, and he had like 4 Funky Buddha beers on draft. And I like to think about this guy wandering in, throwing his weight around about how you're just a pissant coffee shop. You're nothing to me. I own a mediocre concert venue down the street in Boca Raton and have done so for like 5 minutes. And then he has to watch this business, this mediocre coffee shop, become one of the biggest craft breweries in the Southeast, if not one of the biggest craft breweries in the country, and has to sell their beer because it's the most popular beer in the area. I was long gone by the time that happened, but I mean, that's just so sweet.
It really is. I don't know what the second location is, but I will ask you off air what that is, because that is funny.
I purposely, when we talk about the comedy thing, I purposely didn't mention the business because why? Doesn't matter. And there's no reason to drag things up. It's not like anyone that has part of this is going to hear this. Part of it is like, why give them any kind of shout out? The other person is like, why not just make them anonymous, terrible human beings? Because that's what they are.
Yeah. All right. Tim, do you want to add anything else into any more barbs into this conversation?
No, it's been kind of a whirlwind, guys. But it's been a lot of fun. So I think I'm probably good.
All right. Let's head into last calls, the point in the show where we give each other an unspecific amount of time to talk about whatever it is that we want. Beverage related, unbeverage related. The only rules are that it's uninterrupted, unopposed, and unobjected. We'll start things off here with Tim.
Guys, I know all 3 of us are baseball fans. I want to give a shout out to my Minnesota Twins. They started the season a little bit rough. They're doing really, really good. I really appreciate what they're doing, though. And Minnesota is a town that I don't think, when we talk about small markets, Minnesota is a town that really embraces their team. It's been fun to see them be on, like, what are they, like 16 of the last 20 games they've won. They're doing really, really well. And I still haven't, I'm a bad fan. I still haven't made it to a game yet this year. But it's so much fun, guys. Watching like real fun baseball where you actually get real like actual offense and good pitching. It's been so long since I've seen that. I'm really excited. I have not been this excited for baseball in a long time. And I'm just grateful that Rocco Baldelli has been a really good manager. Like, he's not someone I think anyone would have thought would have been a great manager, and just the lineup isn't necessarily great. I mean, obviously we've got Carlos Correa, but and Byron Buxton, but still, the way this thing has worked, man, I have not been excited for baseball this much in a long time.
Nice. My last call is about baseball as well. I want to say, get rid of the fucking blackouts. It is such a dumb fucking rule, and it hurts people who are fans out of market of particular teams. Like, the fact that there are locations where people are blacked out by multiple teams from being able to see and what this comes down to is like the MLB's TV at bat or whatever, the MLB TV package. It's like $150 for a season to be able to watch the games. It's like a $20 difference if you want to pick one team. Thanks for that fucking deal, MLB. I'm not subscribed to it because that's dumb. But I'm a Phillies fan. We know this, but I live in South Florida. So if I were to be a subscriber to the Phillies, I wouldn't be able to watch any games at which the Phillies are playing the Marlins, whether in Philadelphia or in South Florida, because I am in the Marlins blackout market. Luckily, I am just outside of the blackout zone for the Rays, but there is parts in Florida where it is Rays, Marlins, and Braves are blacked out. There are places in Oklahoma where the Royals, Rangers, Astros, and I think there's one other. I think it's the Rockies are all blacked out in that area. So, like, if you're a fan of any of those teams, you can't watch their games. If you're a fan of the Yankees in one of those locations, anytime they play any of those teams, you can't watch those games. This is from the regional broadcasting partners thing, regional broadcasting networks or whatever the fuck they're called. MLB needs to do something about this and get rid of this and create a truly good streaming service available for fans to be able to watch teams from abroad and not have to deal with blackout bullshit like this. Major League Baseball is probably one of the worst off professional sports leagues. They're constantly laughed at. They're told that they're boring. They lose coverage from sports networks over the NBA and the NFL, and like they're lucky that the NHL just like to kick themselves in the nuts every other month. They need to do the fans right. This is America's pastime. It's that thing that we have this nostalgic feel for that we have talked about so often on this show as baseball fans. I really hate to say something like this using the word "owe," but Major League Baseball, you owe your fans the ability to watch the teams that they want to watch without bullshit being involved in it. So that's my last call.
This is not a comment on top of yours, but I am an MLB TV subscriber for the Tigers, and they just played the Marlins, and I couldn't watch a single game. That is preposterous that you pay for something you can't even use.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, this is not.
Him's interrupting.
No, this is the thing. This is literally a last call violation.
He's like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna do it."
He's got a red card, so you're gonna get the most out of it.
I don't care. This is.
He's going to get his money's worth. The manager who has been kicked out of the game, he's going to get his money's worth before he leaves the field.
Yes. You're right. If I'm
Well
gonna
said.
get the red card, get kicked out of the field, you are so right. Why the fuck is that? That first of all, like I love Major League Baseball, and I still think that it probably still has the best thing. Why are they hurting their fans?
It's crazy. Okay, so I'm gonna jump into mine. I've had a baseball thing loaded for several weeks, but we keep talking about baseball, and now I realize that another topic that I've had on my list just ties in perfectly with our episode because it talks about entitled douchebags that don't have basic understanding about the world around them. I have, for some of you who know, I've mentioned this on the air, I believe, on the air, like we're on the fucking radio. I've mentioned this on the podcast before that I am currently a full-time student in a psychology program. I'm hoping to eventually get my master's in clinical mental health counseling. But I found a love for the law and criminal justice during my studies, and I started taking a lot of law classes. And I think I want to kind of hybridize those at some point, maybe work with first responders, what have you. But in that kind of finding an interest in law and criminal justice, I stumbled across videos on YouTube, and a lot of them about sovereign citizens. Do you guys know about sovereign citizens? I want you to tell me.
Yes,
You do. Okay.
Yes,
So,
it's kind of a cottage hobby for me, honestly.
so listen, this is why we're all meant to be together, guys. So I've known about this group for a long time. I watched videos years ago about this, but I didn't realize how prevalent it was, especially in my home state of Michigan, where a lot of court cases are put out on YouTube. It's insane. So I think I've watched every sovereign citizen video, and you also have Moorish Americans. You have all these natural people on the land. There are some people that are sovereign citizens that are offended. You call them sovereign citizens, even though they say the same thing. If you don't know what this is, and my co-hosts do, it's basically human beings that think they can use magical language that was somehow passed down from the founding documents. That means that they don't have to follow laws. They just don't have to follow laws. They can just say that they're a natural born person and therefore they don't need a license to drive, or they can't technically enter into contracts. Or one of my favorite ones, every person is born with several $1 million in a trust, and they're just the beneficiary on the trust. So anyone, when they sign a lease, they just tell the person, yeah, $1,000 a month, take it from my trust. And they don't pay. And they'll write some, script craziness on a document, and they take this to court. There are a lot of these people that are mentally ill. There's no doubt. And there are a lot of people that are just using this as like a crutch, like, okay, I can get away with this. But the ones that scare me the most are the ones that buy this hook, line, and sinker and do not at any point process that all the people in the criminal justice system that have gone to universities and learned every single nuance of the law, they don't know anything. I went on the internet. That's essentially their argument. They are flat earthers, right? They are birds don't exist. They are the most fringe insanity in the world. And they walk amongst us. They walk amongst us, people. I am a positive human being about the trajectory of mankind. I do believe the world is getting better. I do. The statistics bear that out. There is less crime overall. There is more education. More people are being fed. Just the arrow of progress it goes up and down, but it goes in the direction that is beneficial to mankind. But when you realize how many of the people that are like this are out there, man, does it give you pause. It's a little tough to fight your natural instincts to light everything on fire and leave society behind, hoping to never run into anyone like that in your life. If you know about sovereign citizens, I'm sorry. If you don't know, and I've just opened this up to you, so you have to be exposed to this, I'm also sorry. Gentlemen?
Well, That's this has been a productive episode.
That's a PSA,
in
basically.
so many ways. Kevin, do you want to plug anything besides the fact that all birds are cameras?
Coming out, I'm two things actually. One, everyone knows about our Old Favorite Friday videos, but we're starting a food and beer pairing video series where we're going to bars and restaurants, some of our great partners, and specifically taking one of their dishes, pairing it with one of our beers, and really talking about food and beer. It's a passion of mine. It's something I love to do. If you're not already following us on social media, please do. There are quick videos on Instagram. The videos on YouTube are going to be longer, just like the Old Favorite Friday videos. We want to get interaction. We want people to tell us the kind of foods we should be pairing, check out new and different. Hey, I tried this with this. It was amazing. I just love that interaction. It's so much fun for me. The other thing is that we're going to have a West Coast IPA, triple IPA, as Ralph calls it. It's a high gravity West Coast IPA that's coming out in a few weeks. It's called West Coast Renaissance. It's another in the long line of beers that Ralph has made that I'm just so proud of and just blown away by his ingenuity and the kind of flavor profiles he puts together. And I really push the IPAs at Barrel of Monks because I think that we're like a low key, one of the best IPA breweries around. I think the things that he's putting out are really that good. I know I'm biased, but I'm really geeked up on them. The beers that when people try it that are in the know, they like the beers. So I'd really suggest, if you're able to, highly recommend to check that beer out.
Tim?
I want to just pimp up. No, I've got nothing. I have literally nothing. There's nothing going on in my life.
Any more fun facts about New Prague?
Oh man.
Okay, no, never mind.
If you have to reach, we're going to be here for a while.
I just want to thank anyone who came out to our 9th anniversary at Copper Point this past weekend. Well, past weekend, as in when we're recording this. It was a lot of fun. I was there on the early side for a few hours, and there was a lot of people there, and it was warm out too. Not even like full on South Florida heat and humidity yet, but it was pretty damn warm. So the fact that a lot of people came out and hung out was really cool. Big hello to friend of the show, Ben Wilson, not the Ben Wilson who works for you, Kevin, but Ben Wilson, friend of the show. It was good seeing you. I haven't seen you in a while. Keep on fighting the good fight that you are going through. And yeah, other than that, follow the show on our social at United We Drink on Twitter. It is Twitter. At United We Drink Pod on Instagram and Threads. And you can subscribe to the show on all of those wonderful podcast apps. You can support the show financially at our store, unitedwedrink.com/store, or by visiting the Brands We Love page on our website, unitedwedrink.com. Other than that, we'll be back in a couple weeks with a brand new episode. Thank you, everyone, once again, and cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.